Folks, welcome back. It is another hump day, and that means another trip into the Marvelverse. Welcome back to What's TrainWreck Watching, where we break down the one show right now where we are all watchers. That is Marvel's What If. And there was another exciting installment today where we found out what would happen if the Avengers never came to be. So let's get our team to assemble in here. Let's get them in here. Casali Files and the Micah man. Mike and Casali, another week with a Marvel release and another week where Marvel delivers. Seems like a common theme over this past year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just like TrainWreck Sports, this train never stops with Marvel because it's just been an insane ride, especially just, peering into this show, What If? It's just been insane, and it never ceased to amaze me. Every episode we have gotten so far just keeps delivering. I couldn't even imagine how they could one-up last week's episode with how great that was. And then we had this where what if the Avengers never came to be? It was just so much goodness that we're just so lucky at this point.
I'm just saying, I'm glad that we ended up in the universe that we're in with the Marvelverse, because shit could have went sideways if a couple other things happened, as we saw. We've seen the last couple weeks, but this week for sure, it kind of gave me a scope of the Avengers universe that I never would have imagined and don't really want to imagine anymore after this. A little bit scary.
No doubt, a little bit scary. And Micah, I'm just glad that you were able to overcome and avenge your internet issues last week. But let's get into it. So we got What If the Avengers Never Formed. And the first thing that stuck out to this episode, about this episode to me, guys, was that it wasn't like the other episodes where there was strictly one event and then they go, what if this had happened? It was the team not forming and it was caused by an outsiding factor, but there wasn't that one event like the the Russian operative versus the German operative versus the Captain America guy. There wasn't the one option where if T'Challa got abducted. It wasn't just one moment. It came down to a series of moments caused by a past event. So I liked how they kind of changed it up there. And overall, the episode was a bit of a thrill ride. I mean, sometimes I caught myself losing track of exactly what movie we were supposed to be in, exactly what era of Marvel we were in even. Casali, this was absolutely a thrill ride in What If Episode 3.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, again, too, even from the opening credits to what it turned out to be, it was just such a ride. I was even surprised too, not even surprised to the point where this kind of took place during what in the geek world, and Marvel also kind of played it through their comics around Phase 1 when these movies were coming out. But this was taking place during 1 week called Fury's Big Week, which was pretty much Iron Man 2, The Incredible Hulk, Thor, and Captain America, the First Avenger, leading up to the first Avengers movie. So it was kind of cool to see all that play out. And each movie, like you said, Maniac, it wasn't just one story that was switched. It was each individual thread that was just tweaked a little bit that ended up turning to what we got, the demise of the Avengers, which was just so much goodness. It was just so cool to see.
Yeah, I think it helps kind of explain one of the threads that I try to, like, when I'm discussing any MCU movie with anybody or MCU show that we've seen, like, these things can all be happening at the same time in the universe. The same scene, like, just because you see a scene in sequence doesn't mean that those things are not happening the same way. And I think that this episode kind of just showed, like, the incredible continuity that we've kind of just taken for granted at this point, because all those movies, when it becomes the Thor, I mean, we get that Thor tease right at the end of Iron Man 2, right? But all that shit is happening right at the same time as it. And it's a good reminder of just how much world building they've done that we just, like, assume that that's happening at once and don't really give a second thought to it. And it was a really neat way to kind of tug on that and be like, listen, all these things kind of broke the perfect way in our MCU universe to end up with the way that we ended up. But here's what could have happened if it didn't, if it just broke a little bit different. I'm with that, honestly.
Like You're with the Infinity War Endgame.
Oh, yeah.
It's an interesting take. I mean, it was quite a movie. And yeah, just like this episode, we see all kinds of characters breaking different ways than they ultimately would have. I mean, what a week for Nick Fury. I mean, you act like we have some tough weeks at work, but my goodness, He's going from New Mexico to Tony Stark dying. Spoiler alert, Tony Stark dies, basically, to begin this episode. So just an unbelievable quest on what would happen if he was instantly without him. And, of course, when you don't have heroes, I mean, sometimes that leads to villains, Casale.
No, absolutely. And not even how it was set up. I mean, it kind of played like, again, when this show started, it literally started right in the middle of Iron Man 2, where Stark was in the donut. Fury came out and said, "Hey, I got to talk to you." And they sat in the diner and, again, played just like Iron Man 2. And, if everybody remembers, during Iron Man 2, he had something going on in the system that was actually killing him. And he was trying to, at this point, he kind of gave up. But they had the serum to help fix him. And when, they gave it to him, it actually kind of backfired in a way where they didn't even think was possible. And yeah, R.I.P. Tony Stark. It was just such shocking to see. And the repercussions to that was, who gave him that was Black Widow. And obviously they didn't see what actually happened to him. So that was really what happened. She got in trouble. She was framed for murdering Tony Stark, which was just so shocking to even start this episode on. So, but, again, it's cool to see that how they set up the show where, even how what the Watcher says in the opening credits, where just one little thing could just change the rest of events. I mean, that is really a big deal, because Iron Man is, he's the godfather of this. He really started it all. So to have him out there and go out, that really changes, the initiative that Fury was trying to set up in the first place.
I was going to say, Micah, Nick Fury's bail game must be insane. Getting Black Widow out the day after she murders Tony Stark, basically. I mean, talk about a hookup.
Yeah, bro has some connections, that's for sure. But I was honestly like, Nick Fury was kind of lacking this whole episode. Like, we've never really seen him. I mean, there's been like one, like maybe Winter Soldier. He's behind the 8 ball, and that's not even of his own fault. That's an institutional error more than anything else. But he's really behind the 8 ball, kind of chasing this thing the whole time. And yeah, kudos to him. He got Widow out of there. I think Widow did a lot of that work. I mean, you heard the guy. I think it was Griot, right? That's who that was supposed to be, driving the car, talking shit like, "Oh yeah, it's she only surprises people because no one wants to punch her first," and then takes out a whole group in her little own elevator scene in an ode to Captain America. There, it was dope to see her kind of get that. I wish it was a Scarlett Johansson thing. I know that they haven't been able to get all those voices. Those are the little one that like threw me off with her more than anybody else. It's like,
I hate to be a nitpicker, but that kind of took me out of it a little bit. When you have all the other voices and you have, Benicio del Toro last week, like, yeah.
I still think she did a good job, though. She was good.
Yeah.
And a little fun fact, Casale fun fact here. So the voice of Black Widow was Lake Bell. And she actually did a very, very thrilling movie called No Escape, which was like a political thriller set in like Guatemala or something, where it was like this family vacation that went on a terrorist attack. Like they went on a vacation, and during it was a terrorist attack, and they were trying to save it through. And the husband was none other than Mobius Owen Wilson. And it's such a good movie.
All right, now I might have to watch that. You had me at Mobius. And we hope we have you at Picasso's Pizza. What's TrainWreck Watching is sponsored by Picasso's Pizza, the best pizza in Western New York. Go to your local Picasso's Pizza or go to picassospizza.net for the best deals on the best pizza in Western New York. So we went on quite a ride throughout this third episode of What If. You had the first episode, only really 1 or 2 movies. You had Captain America go to the Avengers. Last week, you did have a couple of movies with the Guardians and kind of Infinity War Fallout. But I felt like this one really took us across the landscape the most. Which movie necessarily sequence did you enjoy hopping into the most, Casale?
I was surprised that they literally went into it, but I was just so happy to see the Incredible Hulk get some love, because I don't really think it's been completely taken out of canon, but a lot of people and fans over the years have really questioned whether they, considered it or not. Obviously, the original Hulk was Edward Norton, and he was, he signed on a contract and everything, but he didn't really get along with Marvel. It's so they say he didn't really get along with Marvel and didn't really want to follow his contract. So they canned him right before the Avengers, and they hired Mark Ruffalo, which was the voice of the Hulk in this episode. So I just was really exciting and just cool to see that, they actually said, hey, we don't care about that. The Incredible Hulk is still canon, and we still follow it. I mean, even when Betty Ross was showing up and everything, it's just kind of warmed my heart a little bit. I was just so excited to see, that whole scene played out, because I love that movie so much. But I mean, everything. I mean, it was just so, as a movie nerd, it was just so cool to see, all the movies, kind of like I said before, this takes place during a whole week where, as far as continuity goes, they do know what they're doing, even though they don't blatantly say it. Most people, they always expect like a date pop up on the screen so they can follow along. But, Marvel knows at this point what they're doing. So it was just cool and exciting to see that, they took bits after every movie during the week. But again, like I said, the Incredible Hulk was just so exciting to see come back to life.
It was really interesting to me to see how they played out the Loki storyline in this, with Loki showing up after, obviously, Thor's one of our fallen Avengers too here in this episode. And because in Thor, like, when Thor's down on Earth and everything, he's banished. Like, he's there because they wanted no part of him. So it's kind of confusing to see Loki down there after, even though it's obviously they knew something terrible had happened. But right away, I think all of us had the thought, like, this Loki here, he's not here for Thor. He's here for no good. He sees all this shit going down, and it's like, I'm ready to cause some chaos.
Anytime he was on the screen, I was the Philip J. Fry meme. I was just like, I knew it. I was waiting for him to be this out, because in Thor 1, Loki's a little shit, just like he is basically all the time. He's just a more endearing little shit now. But he's coming back and forth to Earth, being like, "Oh, Father wants you banished, and he's in a coma now. So sorry, buddy." But it was awesome to see President Loki. It was kind of cool to see, like, literally the army of Asgard show up. Like, and it shows how ridiculous Thor was in Thor 1, just going to Jotunheim to attack the Frost Giants with like 5 people. It was just absolutely ridiculous. But reeling it back in here. Again, so we have President Loki, essentially. We get the variant of Loki who's a leader, who's respected, who's loved by everybody, that they want to see. And he, again, spoiler alert, as we're getting into what's TrainWreck watching episode 3 of What If, Nick Fury and Loki teaming up. You want to talk about things we thought we would never see. It's what's the line from Fury? I didn't write it down, but it's like, I'm either going to like something with an angel, or I'm going to make a deal with the devil.
Yeah, it was something like that. I'm either going to follow an angel or make a deal with the devil or something like that. But I mean, it was a badass line. Absolutely. But I mean, come on. Who'd have thought that we'd ever see them teaming up? I mean, this literally goes to show that they can do whatever they want in this show and get away with it, because as we see in Thor, and I think that's one of the cool things, and one of the things that I wouldn't even say that bothers me, but it's a little bit, again, it goes to show that they could really play around with the alternative universes. I mean, who knows? Maybe, the beginning of Thor played out differently within this timeline. It wasn't just changed when Iron Man died in the diner. So, everything could have been just happening at once. So maybe Loki was, actually achieving more, in Asgard before he came down, on the planet, and it didn't really play out as Thor, but it was cool, to see. I mean, also to have Tom Hiddleston come back yet again, as our favorite Loki, was cool to hear his voice. But it was just cool to see that, like, that they were teaming up. Like, this literally was so different than how the Avengers started out.
It shows how thin that Avengers roster was at the beginning, right? Like, he didn't have any other options. Like, there was like 3 heroes down, and Nick Fury's like, shit, man, I gotta go to this crazy god that I just met like a week ago, who basically threatened me with his medieval army or whatever. Like, he was in desperation mode. And I mean, we just like, all the heroes that we saw. I mean, going back to the comment earlier about Endgame and Infinity War, like, the one pull of those movies was just to see all the heroes that we've grown to love throughout all this show, all on the screen together. But we remember out of those humble beginnings where it was just a small group of them, and all it took was that one very, very little push to kind of mess it all up.
Well, even that too. If I remember correctly, I think because I know it happened within the episode, but I think after Loki came on the planet is actually when Nick Fury was, took out the device to contact Captain Marvel, and like obviously that was, that happened within the movie world. That's he lifted it out at the very end of Infinity War when everyone was turning to dust, and then in Captain Marvel we kind of figured out like she gave the device to him whenever she needed, and Captain Marvel was set way before this ever took place. So even that too, I mean, that was kind of I wouldn't even say a surprise, but like I kind of forgot about that was actually going on during that time, that he already had the device to contact Captain Marvel, because she even said like, if there's a great threat that you need me for, let me know. And that also kind of pondered fans a lot after Captain Marvel came out, where people were questioning like, what, did Fury not think Loki was a big threat, or Ultron or whatnot, that it was until Infinity War where that she was contacted. But luckily we got to see our heroes play those movies out. But yeah, I think that was actually kind of cool too, to showcase that literally everything is on the line, and they'll use whatever they can to stop the fight.
As my own aside, I always like to make pop culture references. I feel like Loki and Nick Fury teaming up is Nick Fury agreeing to play with Loki is like when LeBron agrees to take on J.R. Smith. Loki had his first couple runs in New Orleans, Denver, the Knicks. He was up to his shenanigans. Fury didn't want anything to do with him. But for Cleveland and LA down these stretch runs, Fury needed him. So he recruited him and he brought him in. So obviously, we go down to the stretch of the episode. If you haven't seen it yet, obviously go watch What If on Disney Plus. It's an awesome series with lots of awesome Marvel references, characters, changes, storylines you never knew existed. But with that said, what are your guys' final thoughts on the episode, and maybe a favorite change that you saw overall from this installment?
Oh, geez. I just, it was just such a good episode. I mean, we didn't even really kind of get to the end where so this whole episode was pretty much, it was played out like a murder mystery at one point. I mean, yes. Nobody knew what was going on. Everyone was getting blamed. I mean, that, like Hawkeye was framed and then he, passed away, and it was just like everyone was getting down one by one. And even at the end of the Incredible Hulk episode, like part of the episode, he actually, he exploded because, something happened to him. So at the very end of the episode, it was actually kind of interesting to see that it was the Yellow Jacket, Hank Pym, came, and he was the one that was causing all of this, because he apparently what happened within this timeline was Hope was actually an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., and she died while she was in battle. I believe they kind of switched it up. She was in a fight that I believe Black Widow actually took place within the real timeline that we live in the movie world, and obviously it was switched, and she took the place, and she died in battle, which obviously she fought the fight, and that was it. But Hank Pym, he was just so overwhelmed with her death that he wanted to take out everything that Fury had. And the one thing that Fury had, at least building up to this point, was the Avengers initiative. That was everything. He put all that on the line, and that was the demise. So it was kind of cool to even showcase that. I mean, I literally was sitting on the train this morning going to work, watching the episode, and all of a sudden, once he showed up, the Yellow Jacket, having Michael Douglas come back was very surprising. But it was just cool to showcase that, again, Marvel has the characters. They have the roster. They could literally pull from anywhere as long as it's a good story and as long as it fits, even though What If they could do whatever they want. It was just kind of cool to see that. So, again, I think we're in 3 episodes, and this show has already proved that they could do whatever they want and still showcase a story that is entertaining and cool. You can relate to it, whether you're a movie fan, you're a fan of the shows, all of that. So it's just cool to see this and to have this live on a streaming platform nonetheless that, you know, you can enjoy from the palm of your hand. It's just pretty cool. And it's just so exciting. I mean, just so exciting. What a time we live in where we can get this entertainment. You know, it's just so cool.
Yeah, my favorite that you touched on it there, you put that great, Casale. The Hank Pym heel turn was awesome because, I mean, in comic lore, like, Hank Pym, you don't want to delve into the details. You want to look it up, you can look it up. But Hank Pym's an asshole a lot of times in comic history. There's a lot of moments where he's just a bad guy in general. He's kind of been a loose cannon his whole time in the Marvel canon. So it was an interesting take to see him like kind of go full heel and go crazy. And it also just shows, you know, we've got more of these Ant-Man movies coming up. They, especially Wasp and Hope Van Dyne. She's been an integral Avenger since the beginning too. And it just shows you how powerful like that suit and those Pym particles really can be in this universe. I think that was a good way to portray that if it ends up in the wrong hands, like how it can go, or just, I mean, the guy that invented it, but you know, just it took that one little push over the edge, like, you know, like the Joker would say, all it takes is that one little push, and it was him going. So I really like that though, like, because I mean, Hank Pym, like, there's been those times in the comics where you kind of thought he's been teetering, and so it was really cool to see What If kind of just go full bore with that.
Yeah, just unbelievable. Hey, when he is inspired and when he is pissed, Hank Pym is like the Wu-Tang Clan. He ain't nothing to fuck with. And I can't believe, I mean, again, spoiler alert coming in here. We got 30 seconds left here on What's TrainWreck Watching, but I mean, who would have thought we would get a Captain America and a Captain Marvel working under a King Loki? That is just unbelievable. So, hey, you lose one set of heroes and you get another that we never thought existed. And if you don't know it exists, make sure you get after Picasso's Pizza. They are the sponsor of What's TrainWreck Watching. We are 3 episodes in to What If. We got movies coming here in the early fall. We got more episodes of What If and much more on the horizon, boys.
Can't wait.
Absolutely. Shang-Chi is next week already. So I can't wait.
Shit, it is. Oh my God.
Yeah. Labor Day weekend, baby. Oh.
I heard the first review I read or whatever said Shang-Chi puts Black Widow to shame. No offense to Black Widow, but
no, I've been hearing really great reviews. I've been hearing, I mean, I think the Rotten Tomatoes score is up already and it's somewhere in the 90s, but yeah, it's getting a lot of praise, which is good. I mean, it's always cool, you know, that I love when Marvel does like, you know, different representation and just new stories too. It's just really cool. So I'm very excited.
Yeah.
Folks,
and it's I hope we see the man. No, you're good. I just want to say I hope we see the Mandarin.
Done right.
From Iron Man 3, done it right. And Maniac, you're lucky we're leaving now because you get to escape our trailer. Us roasting you for your trailer hate of Spider-Man. But
well, we got plenty of time for you to get me on that, folks. And we will make sure we do it on What's TrainWreck Watching. Make sure you follow on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, SoundCloud, Twitch, YouTube, MySpace, everything, because you know this train never stops. And here at What's TrainWreck Watching, it's all about next week's episode.
Hey, you big dumb idiot. Looks like you got yourself a saucy hand. Yeah, I do. Try yourself a Picasso boneless wing. Maybe next.
Well,